Hey loves, how are we doing today? How was everyone's day been, week, whatever? Hope you're all doing well though. But today is Thursday, which means it is Stories and Theories Thursday. Also, sorry if you can hear some crickets. I swear to you, there's literally a cricket nest like right outside my window, and I swear to you, they are so loud, like all night long, and it is the most annoying thing ever. But besides the point, I do apologize for that, but that is besides the point. It is Thursday, which means it's scary story time, which means it is scary story time. And this week's story made me not want to stay anywhere alone anymore, and or make me want to house sit for people anymore, or just anything to deal with that anymore. So I'm gonna stop rambling and let's get into the video. So this story takes place in the early 2000s, so they never said the exact date, but early 2000s. I probably wasn't even born yet, or I was just born. Yes, I'm a little old one. I don't know why I even said that. Whatever. But in the early 2000s, landlines were probably like the most common thing, and if you were born like in that early time, you remember we always had like home phones, is what we used to call them when I was younger. And when you had a cell phone, you had limited minutes and all that stuff. You didn't have unlimited everything on cell phones like we do now. So the girl who was writing this story, her friend was house sitting a house, obviously, that her friend, she was house sitting, let me just like backtrack my words. I cannot speak today. Oh my gosh, I apologize for how terrible this video is gonna be. So the girl's friend was house sitting a house for a family that her family was friends with from church. And it was, you know, a typical kind of countryside farmhouse. So it was kind of in the middle of nowhere. You had to drive out into like, it was a little bit outside of the city, and they were in, if I remember correctly, they were a little bit outside of Sacramento. And so it was, they described the area as this giant farmland area where you have no neighbors for miles and miles. It's just you and the farmland and gravel roads and animals, and that's about it. So the friend asks the girl who's writing the story if on the last night of her having a house sit, or on one of, I think it was like the second to last night, if she wanted to come and spend the night there with her while she house sits, because, you know, it gets lonely sitting alone in a house. And the girl agrees, and they go over and drive to the house around 9:30 p.m. So a little bit later than she would normally go to the house, but it's okay, and it's not like anyone's there, right? They're house sitting for a reason. So the girls got there obviously later in the evening, around 9:30 at night, they said. And once they got there, they went to go feed the animals, make sure they had water, so on and so forth, you know, doing the responsible things. And this house, this family, better word to use, this family had a lot of, they were like a typical kind of farmhouse. They had a horse, they had a donkey, they had some chickens, and they had a couple of rabbits and a few cats just kind of roaming around. I think the cats were just roaming around. I honestly don't. They never really talked about the cats too much, or any of the animals, besides the fact that once they got there, they went and they fed the animals and made sure they had water, yada, yada, yada. So the house, once they got there, she explained that it's kind of like a ranch-style house, so almost typical country type of house. At least that's how most country style houses that I've seen. It was a ranch style, but it was a very closed off floor plan. So instead of everything being open, there only being probably maybe around 1 or 2 hallways. This house was super closed off. After you went into the living room, there was a hallway to one side of you, and then you would go through another door into the kitchen, and there would be another hallway on the other side of you, and there were doors everywhere. So nothing was really open. You can't really see into anywhere. It was just room by room. You can't really see into anything else, which already, I don't know why you would want to be in a house like that. That's already creepy enough as it is. But whatever. So it got later into the night, and they were just sitting talking. They had dinner, you know, what you would normally do when you house sit. You don't really do anything besides sit in the house. But they were about to go to bed. They were getting ready, so they turned on the house alarm and turned off all the lights, and they decided to sleep in the living room because the friend doesn't like sleeping in other people's beds, which, I mean, makes sense. So she's been sleeping in the living room, so obviously the person writing the story was also going to sleep in the same area as her. So they turned off all the lights. They, you know, got cozy in the little couches and recliners and all that fun stuff, and then they were talking for probably another 20 or so minutes. Just, you know, it's what friends do. You just talk to each other constantly in pitch darkness where you literally cannot see anything around you. Just pure blackness. And as they're talking, the motion sensor activated lights outside of the room, like outside of the living room, they turned on. They just boop. And the thing about this house is they don't have any curtains or blinds on any window in the house. So you could just see straight out, and if you have the lights on inside, they can see straight in. That's just how this house was, which, why would someone not want to put curtains and or blinds on their windows? Like, even if you're in the middle of nowhere, why wouldn't you put anything on your windows? I don't get it. Besides the point. So after they saw the motion sensor lights go on, they went silent for a good amount of time. But then after a couple minutes of them going completely silent, the friend goes, you know, maybe it was just one of the cats walking outside. And right as they were about to be like, okay, yeah, it was probably one of the cats walking outside, they heard gravel crunching, like as though someone was walking over the gravel outside. So they both heard the gravel crunching outside, and since they were basically in line of sight with the window that was in the living room, they both slid down to the floor so that whoever was outside couldn't see them sitting inside, even though you can't really see through the window since it's dark inside and outside. But, you know, just in case. So they both slid down from their chairs onto the ground. And it went quiet for a little bit. The motion sensor lights had turned off, but then they heard a loud bang. And that's when they started being like, okay, something's not right here. I don't know what to do. Start freaking out, right? But obviously they're still trying to be quiet because, you know, common sense, right? And then after this loud bang had happened, the motion sensor lights turned back on, and the house alarm started going off. It started blaring. It just went for it. All throughout the house, all you could hear is the alarm going off. And so the girl, she started going towards the security panel that's part of like the house alarm system. And on that, there's a little button that you can hit for emergencies. So it'll like call the police, it'll give you assistance if anything's going on, yada yada yada, you know, all that fun stuff. And she goes to this like system, right? And on the main screen, it says patio door 1 of 2 open. So one of the patio doors in the house is open. And then she goes to click the little assistance button. Nothing happens. Literally nothing. No call happens, no signal, no assistance, no nothing. It doesn't work. So after she realizes that, you know, the button's not working, they're not going to get assistance through this or anything, she asks her friend where the phone is, because then obviously there were landlines everywhere, and neither of them have brought their cell phone because, you know, you have limited minutes, so you gotta use those minutes wisely, people. Good thing we have unlimited minutes now, because if any of us were in that situation now, just quickly 911 on your cell phone, you're good to go. But no. So she asked where the phone was, and she said there was one in the kitchen, and then there was the other one was in the parents' room, which was down the hall. So the kitchen, obviously, as most kitchens do, it has a patio door really close to where the phone is. Like, you have to pass the patio door to get to the phone. Whereas with the parents' room, to the other patio door was in a room that was closed off. Like, the door wasn't open, it was closed. Most of the doors in that hallway were closed anyways. So they decided to go to the parents' room, which, if you're passing the patio door that's over there, you're not going to see inside the room since the door is closed. So they decided to go to the parents' room, and that's what they did. They started going over to the parents' room without a flashlight and pitch black darkness through that house. Yeah. So once they got to the parents' room, they had to turn on the light in there because, you know, it's so dark they can't see where the phone would be. So they turn on the light and they start looking for the phone, and they find, so there was a cordless phone in the parents' room, and they find the cordless phone stand and where the phone would be, but there was no phone on it. The phone was missing. It was just the stand of the phone. The phone was nowhere else, literally nowhere to be found. So then they realized, like, okay, they have to go to the kitchen to use the phone in there because there's no phone in here, because it's gone, first of all, and second of all, they don't have their cell phones on them, so they can't really call from where they are. So they decided that they have to go to the kitchen to use the phone in there. But right as they decided that they were about to go to the kitchen to use the phone in there, the house alarm stops. And it becomes dead silent, like cricket dead silent. Well, they said it's like country dead silent, and I've been in the country in pitch silence before. If you know that sound, it's like the worst silence you could ever be in. It's terrible. And that's literally what happened. House alarm stopped blaring, and it went dead silent. So obviously it's like dead silent outside or around them. But, you know, they still have to get to the kitchen to get to the phone because, you know, they don't know what's going on. So just to be safe, they start going to the kitchen, and as they're making their way to the kitchen, they make sure they turn on every single light that they pass by, and that every single door around them is closed. And once they get to the kitchen, they make sure that the kitchen door is locked. So the door that goes from the living room to the kitchen, I think, or the hallway to the kitchen, I don't remember which door. They just said they made sure that the kitchen door was locked. And then the friend went and called 911 from the landline phone. And obviously, if you know anything about a landline, it has a cord on it, so you can't go very far. You kind of just have to stay in that one spot basically the entire time, which is always fun when you're in a situation like that where you're calling 911 because you think there's somebody there. Okay, sorry, but this next part I'm going to do off camera because I don't know how well I'm going to be able to talk while trying to do this. Basically, if you're not interested in the makeup, just skip forward like a couple seconds. But I'm just putting glitter eyeliner in my crease, but I can't really do it talking while also trying to do like I just dropped my phone, but also like hunched down like this. So I'll be back in just a second. Sorry about that, but I am back. So to continue on with the story, So they went into the kitchen, made sure all the doors were locked in the kitchen. And as the friend was on the phone with the dispatcher after calling 911, the girl, the one that's writing the story, she hears a whistle from outside. And it's one of those whistles that sounds like someone is calling for you or calling for attention. Like, you're whistling to somebody to get their attention. It was like that kind of whistle, you know? And when this whistling happened, you know, since all the lights inside the house were on, anybody that's standing outside the house can see directly and perfectly inside the house. But from inside the house, you can't see anything outside unless you're pressing your face up against the window. And, you know, I don't think anyone would do that if they heard something outside, like a whistle or anything like that. I don't think they would press their face up against, you know, the glass to see who's out there. So as she's trying to figure out what to do, and as her friend is talking to the dispatcher still, she hears the whistle again, and it just kind of keeps doing that same whistle, like they're trying to get their attention, basically. And it's just like, ugh, like, it's just even weird to think about it. But they got to a point where the dispatcher needed the address of the house, and the problem is they didn't actually know the address of the house because the girl didn't need to pick up the mail from for the house, because the mail was in a lockbox or a safe box, and it was locked with a key that she didn't have. So they didn't know the address to the house, which was a problem, you see, because to get police to the house, you kind of need to know the address and give them the address and yada yada yada. But they couldn't find anything with the address on, and they also just didn't know the address either. So since neither of the two girls could find anywhere in the house the address of the house that they were in, the police station the dispatcher, more or less, and the police needed to trace the phone number and where the call was coming from to get police to their area, since, you know, they don't know the address at all. And the dispatcher then hung up because, you know, the dispatcher was being a little bit rude, but I think it was a she, I don't remember, but the dispatcher hung up, and get this, right before the dispatcher hung up, she said the worst thing you could probably say to these girls. I'll let you take a guess, just. She tells the friend right before she hangs up, "I hope the police get there in time." How sick can you be to tell that to somebody who calls 911? Like, seriously? Really? You're gonna say that to somebody who calls 911? So after the dispatcher said that and hung up, they called 411, which I honestly don't know what it is, but I think it's like another emergency contact you can do. And they explained to that person what happened, what the dispatcher at 911 said, and then they connected them with the local police station and started explaining to the local police station what had happened and what was going on and yada yada yada. And when they were talking about this, they heard another loud bang happen. But this bang was almost like a metal bang, like almost as though someone took a metal rod and was like hitting it against something. That's what it sounded like. And then the whistle came back too. Again, since this happened while they were still on the phone with the cops, the girl explained that, you know, a loud bang just happened, this person keeps whistling, and all that fun stuff, right? Because, you know, and they stayed on the line with the police, or I think it was the police, yeah. And so they stayed on the line with the police until the police got there. But since they were so far out of town, it was going to take police a couple minutes to get to them, which is why, you know, they stayed on the phone with them, which is what a good person would do. They would stay on the phone with somebody until help got there. So that's what happened. So they stayed on the phone until the police got there. Once the police got there, obviously the police checked the property to see if anyone was there. They didn't find anybody. They didn't find anything abnormal or literally anything. They found nothing. The next day, the friend, she had to go back in the morning because she had to feed the animals. When she got there, the animals were kind of acting weird. She went inside the house to obviously, like, grab the food, and there were footprints, like muddy footprints inside, and there were also footprints in, like, the barn area, but that could have been the police. She's not sure of it. She wasn't paying attention. But inside, she found, footprints also, and she doesn't remember there being footprints from the night before, but, again, it could have been the police, too. But then she went in the actual, like, barn area where all the, like, animals are to feed them, and the rabbits that they had, that family had, all their legs were tied up together. Like, each little bunny rabbit, all 4 of their legs were tied together. Well, I don't know if all 4 of their legs were tied together or if it was just the back legs, but their legs were tied together on each of the bunnies. Okay, and then also close by, there was a little pizza coupon, and on the back it said somebody had written Lucky on it. And that pizza coupon had come from inside the house on the fridge door. That's where it was the night before. She comes in the morning and now there's the word Lucky written on it, left in the barn. So someone was definitely there, but after that incident, the 2 girls never got any updates regarding anything, if the police caught anybody, if they saw somebody, nothing. They never heard from them again. But also that girl never went to house sit for those people ever again, so yeah, probably a smart idea not to. And yeah, that is that story. I hope y'all enjoyed this story. It generally makes me hate living alone now. It makes me kind of scared a little bit, but then again, I don't really get scared too much, so yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this week's video, and if you did, please be sure to give it a like and comment down below what you guys want to see me do for the next couple of weeks, or for next week's episode, or just for future episodes in general. If you guys have any ideas, any conspiracy theories, any stories, I do really got to do a conspiracy theory, because I haven't done one yet. I really should do that. Maybe we'll have a conspiracy theory next week. We'll see. But yeah, and if you guys are new, please be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. I am here for you every Thursday with a new stories and theories episode. Also hit the bell because, apparently the subscribe button doesn't really actually do anything anymore. So make sure to hit the bell so that you get notified when I do upload. But I will see you all next Thursday. I love you guys so much. Bye!